Welcome to A-Aron's Adventures. On this episode, I'm in western Montana and it's the 4th of July. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this. The slide, as we refer to it, is a small pond that was created by a massive rock slide when half of a mountain sloughed off and crashed into a stream bed below. All the debris created a natural dam that blocked the stream and filled up the pond. As I emerge from the trees here, you can see just how massive and devastating this rock slide really was. And if you notice, at the top of the mountain, it was solid rock that just sloughed off one day when a massive crack finally gave way after thousands of years, which sent millions of tons of rock crashing into the valley below, destroying anything in its path. The pond is located on the far right-hand side at the edge of the area of devastation. Here, I'm just finishing traversing the rock slide and I'm coming up on the pond. Unfortunately, I forgot to capture any footage as we made our way through the rock slide. It was quite treacherous and I was more focused on the safety of my family and dog as well as my own. There is no clear path and it is a massive maze of crevices and boulders of all sizes, some as large as a small house, any of which could be potentially unstable and shift or tip when crossing over, possibly leading to serious injury or maybe even death, especially if you were to get pinched in a crevice by a large enough boulder. I'm climbing out on this fallen tree so that I can get a better vantage point for casting. This pond is full of fallen trees, making it fairly difficult to fish without getting snagged. My cousin and I have been coming to this pond since we were small children and it has changed quite a bit over the years. I had mentioned that the water seems low, but this is mainly due to the fact that the stream feeding the pond has been depositing layers of sediment to the bottom, gradually filling it in over the years. The first time I fished this pond, the main channel was 10 to 12 feet deep. Now it's only 4 to 5 feet deep, which has significantly reduced the number of fish in the pond, as well as the fact that more and more people have heard about it over time. So between the pond gradually filling itself in, as well as the increase in fishing pressure, there's only a mere fraction of the fish that there once were. In the background, my cousin catches a bull trout. These are fairly common in this pond, but they're actually an endangered species and it must be released. Although today we're practicing catch and release anyway, regardless of the species. Here I'm fishing under a log right in front of me. This is a common hiding spot for fish, especially in water as clear as this. And the lure I'm using is a small wet fly, which is a nymph imitation that has a gold bead head. These are very effective on trout. However, it's difficult to fly fish in this pond. All of the brush and trees around make casting a fly rod nearly impossible. So I have the fly tied onto my spinning rod with a clear casting bobber above it, which can be a very effective substitute depending on the situation. Now I did have a small trout bite the fly right here in front of me, but I was unable to set the hook and ended up getting my line wrapped around a branch. My cousin catches another fish. This one is a cutthroat trout. These are very common in the mountain streams and lakes all around this area. He caught it on a small, brightly colored spinner, which mimics a minnow, and the bright colors seem to help trigger the attack instinct in fish. These work really well, but are more prone to getting snagged. After releasing this fish, we hike back to the truck and head back to the cabin. We didn't stay long because fishing was not very good, and also we had planned to do a float down the river that afternoon, and we wanted to make it back so we could get ready. This is the Clark Fork River, which flows directly in front of our cabin.
Everybody off?
We drove a few miles upriver to launch so that we could just float back down to our property and get out there. I'm with my girlfriend and our dog in our inflatable canoe. Along with us in kayaks is my cousin, my stepbrother, and my stepbrother's girlfriend. We're not fishing here because it's midday, and typically fishing is not very good at this time, so we're just gonna relax and enjoy a peaceful float down the river.
Penny knows how to relax in the canoe. Turn around, baby, smile.
I take several short clips along the way to show the beautiful scenery as we float back down to the cabin. In this clip, we're floating backwards to get the sun out of our faces, and my girlfriend is working on her tan. You can hear her and my stepbrother's girlfriend, who's also a Latina, discuss their levels of brownness.
I've been pale brown for like 3 summers.
You gotta get tan.
I noticed you were 10.
We just came around a slight bend, and now we're headed down a fairly long, gentle straightaway. The current picks up a little here, but it's still really gentle and easy to navigate. The section of river we chose to float is very gentle, although other sections of this river have up to Class 5 rapids, but we wanted something a little more peaceful and relaxing than that. The river is a little shallow here, and you can see the rocks go by on the bottom as we drift along. Here's a little more footage as we approach another slight bend in the river. My dog seems to have spotted something on the shore here and is standing up on the edge of the canoe to try and get a better look. Luckily, she's quite agile and manages not to fall in or tip us over. My dog climbs even further out on the edge of the canoe, yet still doesn't fall in.
Well, you haven't fallen in yet, dog.
Quite a beautiful view here as we float towards the last bend in the river between us and the cabin. Here, my dog finally manages to weasel her way clear up to the very front of the canoe. The current has picked up as we're rounding the final bend, and there are some large boulders creating riffles. You can see we drifted just past one to our left. Right before we had rounded the bend, we saw a bald eagle land up ahead on the right-hand side of the riverbank, and once we make it a little further, it comes into sight, and I try and get us a little closer for a better look. We do get fairly close, and you can see the eagle's eating a fish, but I couldn't get quite as close as I wanted because I didn't want to get it too steep of an angle while heading towards shore, because if the canoe gets completely sideways in the river, it's much more unstable and it could flip, especially if we hit one of the riffles.
Oh, yeah. I'm filming right now. I'll try and get closer to the bank. Babe, I gotta keep us the right angle to not get closer to him. He's got something in his hand. Look, he's got a fish he's trying to eat. Look at him eyeballing us.
Here, I didn't realize that the camera was on, but I did manage to get some good footage containing a nip slip as my girlfriend adjusted her top, as well as some of the final stretch before the cabin. Because I didn't realize that the camera was on, I accidentally turned it off, and I failed to get the footage of us actually coming in and landing on the shore by the cabin, and I only got a couple seconds right when we made it to shore. The sun has finally started to set, and now it's time for some fireworks. The park we are at is located in the center of the small town where my dad grew up, which is only a few miles down the road from our cabin. To give a little perspective on just how small this town actually is, the population is under 400 and there's only one major intersection, and it's just a four-way stop with a blinking red light. But despite the size of the town, there's always quite the turnout for the 4th.
Flips over and shoots at people.
My cousin mentions ones that shoot at people. This is either a mortar that's tipped on its side or another type of firework. It's basically a box of miniaturized mortar barrels that go off in sequence. These can be very dangerous because if they're not put down level, the recoil from the first shot will flip it on its side, then all the following shots will shoot out randomly in whatever direction it happens to land, usually spraying the crowd with fireballs and sparks.
One year, I even saw somebody take one straight to the temple. And I've had plenty of close calls myself, and even managed to get a small third-degree burn when I was a child. The volunteer fire department also participates in the show, and they have access to some good fireworks that most people typically don't. Now, it's finally getting dark enough, and the show's really getting going, so my stepbrother and I decided to light off a couple boxes of Saturn missiles. And here's my girlfriend scampering away as she lights off a little rocket. Here, you see one of the stray mortars blow up on the ground. Luckily, nobody was around it. It's after midnight when the fireworks are finally starting to come to an end. I missed a lot of the action throughout the night because I was too busy drinking beer and BSing with the family. But my girlfriend did get a couple extra videos on her phone too. Not bad for a small town. That was one hell of a 4th. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out my other videos as well. In the next one, I give some great tips on how to catch bass while fishing out at Lake Mead on a beautiful summer day.